Hello friends, this is Worm with a clever intro here, and today I wanted to talk about glaives, and more specifically Stasis and Strand glaives, and just have a general discussion about them. Now, before we go any further, there's a lot of y'all who aren't subs, so go down there, hit the sub button so that you are a part of our daily content and conversations. And let's talk about Stasis and Strand glaives. Now, this topic to me sparked, I guess, a little bit after yesterday's conversation about Stasis. Stasis being not really in a great spot and whatnot. And hopefully Bungie will buff that up. But it also brought on the idea of Stasis and Strand glaives. Now, I will be the first to say I am an average glaive enjoyer. Okay, I enjoy using glaives, and I have fun using them. In the background footage you're about to watch here, I'm using a glaive, which granted is not with the best build, but it's still a glaive. I still had fun with it. Like, I like glaives. I think glaives have a really unique spot. But when it comes to glaives, you have only two choices of the slots they can go in. You can go in the energy or in the heavy, and if you use the one in the heavy slot, that consumes your exotic slot, right? So if you want to use a heavy glaive, which granted, that glaive is phenomenal in the heavy spot, don't get me wrong, okay? But if you're gonna do that, like, you're sacrificing your exotic slot. So you can't use something like Necrochasm, you can't use, something that synergizes with your subclass, maybe, the Stasis scout rifle, something that synergizes with your stuff, right? So glaives are pretty much exclusively confined to the energy weapon slot. Why is that? Well, I have a couple theories. Bungie's never explicitly said why we don't have a Strand or a Stasis glaive, especially a Stasis glaive, because Stasis came out, what was it, 2020, so like 3 years ago or something like that, which is insane to me, right? But here's my theory on why Bungie does not have any Stasis or Strand glaives, or kinetic glaives for that matter, in the game yet. And it's not due to lore, it's not due to conflict of blah blah blah, this, that, or the other. It's simply for the fact that Bungie is lazy and they don't want to have to redo character models on things like the load screen and in cutscenes and stuff like that, right? Because when you are, like, at your character selection, right, you're picking your character, you see him holding whatever gun, not just a gun, whatever weapon is equipped in their kinetic slot, in the top slot. That's what they're holding, right? If Bungie added a glaive, a Stasis glaive or a Strand glaive, or even a kinetic glaive to the game, these, those poses at the menu screen would have to be changed, right? Because there's no support for holding a glaive. Like, you've got bows, you've got scout rifles, auto rifles, hand cannons, like all these have different poses and stuff, but glaives don't have one. So they would have to totally redo the menu screens. But not only that, but I mean, look at all the cutscenes we have where we have our weapons out, right? Think about the Witch Queen, right? Whenever you're after the final mission, and without spoiling too much for those who haven't done it, but you're standing there and you have your weapon in your hand. A glaive just fundamentally wouldn't work because it's not a gun. Like, glaives are held with two hands, right? And in that cutscene, you hold your weapon with just one hand. But I don't know, like, I think that's the real reason why we have it. And I think that, honestly, that is a lame excuse for Bungie to have not added a Stasis or a Strand glaive. Now, Strand, I understand why we don't have a Strand glaive yet. I mean, Strand just came out a couple months ago. I get that. But at the same time, like, Stasis has been out for 3 years, and we have one Stasis glaive, and it's a heavy weapon, right? And so that's aggravating. It's not even due to anything that's, like, to me, makes sense. Like, it's purely laziness. Like, instead of going in and changing the poses, adding a new pose for Guardians in the menu screen, and changing cutscenes so that maybe they can allow, if you have a glaive equipped in your kinetic slot, then you can have a different cutscene. Or they did that thing where, like, they had everybody just holding the Kvostov. Like, why don't we do that? Like, and really, I was hoping that when I saw that a couple months ago, and they talked about, why is everybody's character holding the Kvostov? And they talked about, because it's a good placeholder, like, have that. If somebody has a Strand glaive equipped or a Stasis glaive equipped in a cutscene, just replace it with Kvostov, right? Like, I mean, they've made it that easy in the past, right? So I don't see why they can't do it here. But anyways, I want to move on from why they can't do it, and I want to talk about some of the cool aspects of having Stasis and Strand Glaives in the game. Of course, we have the obvious, the fact that we can now use energy weapons again. So if we have, say, a solar build, for example, you're seeing Solar Titan here. I like playing with a glaive on Solar Titan. I could use something like Vex Mythoclast and then use a Stasis Glaive, and it fills that same role. Because to me, glaives aren't really something, they don't really feel like subclass specific, right? Like you could have a Void Glaive on a Solar subclass and it's just fine, right? Because the actual glaive melee is completely, like, it's not tied to your class ability. It's not tied to any ability. I'm sorry, not class, but your subclass energy, right? It's not tied to anything. It's literally a for all intents and purposes, it is a kinetic melee, right? It doesn't deal any specific type of energy damage. And so I don't think that glaives would, particularly be all that. It wouldn't be a bad deal to have, kinetic glaives. And obviously we, you can say, oh, well, what about synergies? Headstone on a glaive wouldn't work, on a Stasis Glaive wouldn't work. Headstone is currently the only subclass, only Stasis subclass weapon perk that we have, so maybe Bungie adds some more in the future. But same thing on like a Strand Glaive. Hatchling, I don't think Hatchling would really work unless you tied it into the melee, get a melee kill, and that spawns a Hatchling. Like, heck yeah, like that'd be fantastic, but I think that'd be something reserved for more of an exotic glaive. But anyways, other neat perk ideas that, I just kind of thought of as I was chilling earlier today. Number one, chill clip on a glaive, of course. Oh, I'm sorry, chill clip. We have chill clip in the game, and chill clip would work well on a glaive. I totally, earlier I said headstone was the only one. I'm sorry. There is chill clip present. So if somebody goes in the comments and makes a comment about me saying that headstone is the only one, oh, where am I? Chill clip is also, yeah, I know. Okay, you just need to finish watching the video before you go make comments. Anyways, but yeah, I think chill clip would work very well on a glaive. Obviously the heavy glaive that we have that allows you to freeze, it basically has, what is the name of that perk? Cold Steel. Basically having Cold Steel on it, I think that would probably be a bit much on a Stasis, like just energy weapon glaive, right? Like, where you can have infinite shield duration, not infinite, but you have a lot more shield duration, as opposed to Winter Bites. With Winter Bite, you do have to have ammo, of course, to freeze. But I think that chill clip could work on a glaive. In terms of Strand perks, like I would love to see a perk come to the game similar to Psycho Hack, right? On the Witch Queen weapons, where when you start dealing damage, like just melee damage, after 3 hits on a target, you just sever them, right? Like they just deal less damage. I think that would actually be a really cool, thing to have on a legendary glaive. I also think that maybe, well, I don't know, like we'll speculate about exotic, glaives in a minute, especially an exotic Strand glaive, because I think that would be really cool. But other subclass synergizing perks, we're still waiting on another Strand one. Like I said, headstone wouldn't really work. It would be cool to see Cold Steel present on these, but I think Cold Steel would literally I don't think it would make Winter Bite irrelevant, because Winter Bite still does what Winter Bite does very, very well, which is freeze just about everything in a room and then deal massive shatter damage on something. But I think that if you moved Cold Steel to a glaive, people just wouldn't use Winter Bite anymore, because that's one of the appeals to having Winter Bite equipped, is the fact that you can stab, freeze an enemy, slow an enemy, freeze an enemy, shatter them, slow, freeze, shatter, in that kind of rotation, which is a really cool thing that Winter Bite does very, very well. But in terms of an exotic glaive, like in the energy slot, I've always thought it would be cool to have something like an like we have Icefall Mantle, have something like Icefall Mantle, but for glaives, for an exotic glaive, right? Like an exotic glaive that gives you, some sort of like damage resistance, maybe slowing you down, but also, giving you some kind of damage resistance, similar to Icefall Mantle. Of course, it would need to be different than Icefall Mantle, because, Icefall Mantle is already kind of the way it is. But I think that'd be cool. In terms of a Strand glaive, I've kind of been going wild with this, but I think a Strand glaive would be really cool to get an exotic Strand glaive that is its own unique archetype, where it's a smaller glaive. So it's not one of these massive, you know, long glaives. Like you load into the tower with a glaive on your back, like it looks huge, right? Like Winterbite is absolutely freaking enormous, right? Have one that's smaller, you know, like the size of like the length of like a sword in D2, right? But it stabs much faster, right? It, you know, and instead of that normal like slow glaive combo, it's not slow, but you know, that normal glaive combo of like 1 2 3 1 2 3, you know, make it 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, like a lot faster. So you can actually, like, you can really spam that melee attack. Of course, I think it would have to do less damage, but you know, Strand is all about high actions per minute, you know, APM or whatever Bungie defined it as. And so I think that would actually be really cool. I think that also you could do like, you know, and again, I know this is treading on the navigator a little bit, but you know, have a second ability where, you know, you can shoot a grapple point out of your stasis glaive. Then, you know, you could grapple to it and stuff like that. That would be a cool idea. I think another like potentially really cool idea we could have for stasis is maybe, you know, maybe something that gives you woven mail. I don't know exactly how it would work, but you know, something that gives you woven mail. You know, something just generally builds into the stasis, or I'm sorry, the strand subclass verbs and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on some stasis and strand glaives. That's of course the reason why they're not in the game. I think is just ridiculous. Bungie, like, come on, dude, make it happen. We know they can make it happen. It's time that they just do it. At any rate, yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on stasis and strand glaives. What's like, do you think that my reasoning for why they're not in the game is right? Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know all that stuff in the comment. Of course, leave your opinions or like some cool ideas for stasis and strand glaives as well, because I love reading through y'all's comments. No, I don't respond to every comment, unfortunately, but I do read almost all the comments on these videos. So yeah, that's it for me though. Of course, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more daily Destiny content, and do me a favor, watch the videos you see on the end screen here, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you will like them. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see y'all next time. Bye for now, guys.